Mini Lesson 3, Brainstorming, Problem and Solution. Yesterday, we discussed the scenes in our stories by using a story mountain. Today, we are going to review our mentor text to observe the conflicts in our realistic fiction stories. Today, I want to teach you that characters often face conflicts in our stories. Let me show you what I mean. Today we are going to talk about the 4 books that we have been using as our mentor text during this writing unit. We are going to discuss the rising action, which are the events that start from the beginning of the story and that lead up to that big problem or the conflict in our stories. Then we're going to talk about how after the conflict, the falling action, which is the scenes that happen after the conflict occurs, and it goes towards the end of the story where the solution is typically at in our stories. So let's have you guys turn and talk with a neighbor, and I would like for you to talk about the problems and solutions in Thank You, Mr. Faulkner, Ruby the Copycat, Peter's Chair, and the Sandwich Swap. Very good job, boys and girls. Thank you for coming back. And I heard some really good things. I heard you guys talking about in Ruby the Copycat how she was copying her friend Angela and said that's a big problem in that story. And then the solution was that her teacher talked with her and told Ruby that she can be herself, and Ruby ended up being herself and the other classmates enjoyed being around her. So I created a chart that shows you just like a summary of the rising action, conflict, falling action, and solution. So let's look at Thank You, Mr. Faulkner. At the beginning of the story, we have our main character, Trisha, who is struggling to read. At the middle of the story, we have the point where she is getting picked on by other kids and she starts to cry. The falling action is whenever her new teacher comes into the picture, and her new teacher embraces her and helps her in her reading and also punishes the bullies. And at the end of the story, when she learns how to read, she becomes so motivated to become an author. Let's think about Peter's Chair for a moment, since we've already talked about Ruby the Copycat. In Peter's Chair, the beginning and the rising action that leads up to that big conflict is that Peter's family has the new baby sister. And they are so excited that they are taking all of Peter's things and turning them pink and giving them to the new sister. Well, this makes Peter very angry, and so the conflict is that he decides to take his blue chair, baby picture, toy, and dog and go sit outside and pretend that he's going to live out there instead of in his house. Well, when he sat into his chair and realized that he was way too big for it, he realized that maybe this wasn't the best idea, and so he solves his problem by going inside and painting his blue chair pink for his new baby sister. In the story The Sandwich Swap, Selma and Lily did not like that they ate different things for lunch. That was part of their rising action. Before that happened, they were best friends, and then they started noticing some differences between each other. The conflict is that they stopped being friends because they don't like each other's sandwiches, and they cause a food fight at their school. The falling action, which leads into our solution, is whenever they apologize to each other and they tried each other's sandwiches. The solution is they liked each other's sandwiches and decided to have a culture fair to show other students that we're all different and that's okay. What I would like for you to do, boys and girls, is to turn and talk with your partner and discuss the possible conflicts in your stories. I heard some really good ideas about some problems and solutions. I also heard some of those words, rising action and falling action, in your conversations. I like how you guys were starting to create scenes that lead up to that big problem or conflict, and then that falling action that leads into our solution. So today, I want you to remember that characters often face conflicts in realistic fiction stories. While you are writing, reread your story and think about the events that lead up to the conflict and the events that will result in the solution of that conflict.